Guten Tag. My name is Ricky Nierva, and I'm the production designer of Monsters University. Yeah, I've been to Germany once.
You have?
And I loved it.
Where have you been?
I've been to Munich and...
We're based in Munich.
Oh, really?
Movie Maniacs
oh,
based
cool.
in Munich, yeah.
Yeah, I had my very first Wiener Schnitzel there.
Did you enjoy it?
The authentic one. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And I also learned how to drink beer the proper way.
What is the proper way? You mean a lot? Or
Well, actually, I don't drink, but my friend taught me how to pour it in the glass and the whole thing. It was amazing. My time in Germany was incredible. I'll never forget it.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the development of our characters for Monsters University.
Yes.
And I was really lucky because I worked on Monsters Incorporated. It's technically the first film we made, but because Monsters University is a prequel, it's going back in time, and we're seeing Mike and Sully in college. And because I worked on the first one, it was like being reacquainted with old friends.
Yeah.
And but it was very difficult being a sequel. Being a prequel is very difficult because we had to make the characters younger. And I remember working on the character in my office, Mike Wazowski, in my office, and a friend walked up to me and said, "Well, how do you make an eyeball 18 years old?" And that was a really good question because, yeah, how do you do that? Well, we asked the crew if they could bring in their photographs from when they were in high school, when they graduated high school. And we learned a few things. Number one, we got a few laughs from it. We learned that most people were skinnier when they were in high school or when they were younger, most people. And hairstyles were really funny back then. But because Mike doesn't have any hair, it was a difficult thing. But we learned from those things that we could apply to the design. And what we did was we skinnied him up. His horns are a bit shorter than they are in Monsters, Inc. Because we skinnied them up as much as we could for a ball, the eye actually got bigger and it made it look a bit younger, like a little baby. And also he skinnied up his limbs and also because of that, his hands and feet got bigger, kind of like the puppy dog effect. So all of the and all of these things were great. We took away the wrinkles and some of the splotchiness. But unless you have an A/B comparison, a comparison to see the old and new, you're really not seeing the changes clearly. And we showed John Lasseter and the Brain Trust this. And he says, you have to find a thing that makes it super clear that he's the younger version in Monsters University. And that's why we came up with the visual hook or the visual cue of the retainer. And he also is wearing a hat during the movie as well sometimes. But that's our big thing. And he's a really fun character in this film. And then we had the same ideas with Sully. We skinnied him up. Yeah. We slimmed him up, we saturated his color, his horns will grow into these horns here. We took a lot of the wrinkling away. But one of the big things about his grooming, that was the development of his look, was, on Monsters Incorporated, one of the big technical challenges back then was the fur. Yeah. That was the big deal back then. They were gonna do fur and also cloth. So, the technical directors would be terrified of this challenge and say, can you just please only have one furred character in a shot, please? And so that was back then. And now, because the technology has advanced so much and everyone is so amazing, talented, that fur is easy and cloth is easy now. But for Sully, we really developed the look of his fur and made it softer and made it. Also, in college, there's always these students that would just roll out of bed in the morning and go straight to class and have bed head, So we kind of created this entire overall bed head look for his entire body. So it's much more tufted. And he also has this little tuft of hair, this little faux hawk on the top of his head. And we showed Pete Docter this, who was the director of Monsters Incorporated, now the executive producer of Monsters University. And he loved that look. He said that was the look that they wished we could have got back on Monsters Incorporated. And so you see here Randy, who, if again you don't have the benefit of an A-B comparison, it looks the same.
Yeah.
He looks like the same guy, but we saturated his color, we skinnied him up. We looked at young salamanders and how juicy they look and how they kind of are see-through a bit, that subsurface scattering. We blunted his and thickened and made it more juicy, his fronds on the top of his head. We removed a lot of the main wrinkles. But again, we showed this to some of the original designers on Monsters Incorporated, and they were like, oh, this is the new Randy? And so we came up with that visual cue of adding the glasses. And the benefit of adding those glasses is very coincidental, and it's very serendipitous, and it's a great thing, is that when he has these glasses and he would remove them, you would see him squint, and you would see that familiar, sinister aspect of what Randall turned out to be. So it being a prequel is very difficult because you have to make the younger version of characters that people know and love, and it was not an easy task, but I think they look great. And then with these returning characters, I talked a bit about the technical difficulty back then. Well, we don't have that, but the technical challenge on this film was the sheer amount of characters. So out of 6 body types, we created almost 300 new characters.
Wow.
We have the fungus, the slug, the Charlie, the block, the spiff, and the pill. These body types here, we would, with variation of size, form, color, adding fur, adding scales, adding props like wings and different horns, we populated this beautiful campus that we designed. And we made the monster world much more richer. And I think that was a great thing for expanding the world of Monstropolis and Monster World. And I'm really proud of, out of these 6 we created, we used up every single character. And on Monsters Incorporated, we only had maybe about 20 characters that we'd use over and over and over again. So it's quite an accomplishment. And then also here, these one-offs are characters that you would remember from Monsters Incorporated. We would sprinkle them in here and there. So do you have any questions about anything here?
In your position, you have so much responsibility. Do you sometimes think, oh my God, this is all getting too much, or how am I supposed to make this in time?
You know, that is always the case with these films, is you know, you always want to keep making it better and better and better, but of course the release date starts to loom, and you know, deadlines are good for artists because you can continue to just keep polishing this as much as you can, and we want to make the best product for the world. But you know, I gotta say, it was a really fun experience. You know, it being you know, working with these characters that I got to work on when I first started at Pixar was a real treat. And it was these things where these characters are really fun. So yes, it was very difficult and hard at times, but it was also a very fun thing. And that balance is why I love filmmaking at Pixar.
So is it like a roller coaster? Sometimes you feel like I've got everything under control, and then it's like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah, and just like a roller coaster, it's scary, but it's also very fun. Depending on how much you throw up during the roller coaster ride. This is our Uzma Kappa fraternity. And this is the fraternity that Mike and Sully have to join in order to get to the Scare Games. And this is Terry and Terry Perry, the conjoined twin brothers. And you know, siblings are the only people that can get under your skin, not unlike anyone else can. And I love the balance between the two, and you know, because of their differences, you really can get this great comedy.
You're speaking of personal experience. Do you have siblings?
I do. I'm the youngest of 5 children.
Oh wow!
So I was probably the one getting under their skin more than them getting under my skin. And then we have Scott Squishy Squibbles, and there's always these characters or always these students in college that are, you know, very young, and they're malleable, they're moldable, they're finding themselves in college. And that was one of the things that Dan Scanlon, the director, was wanting to talk about or to find in this character. So we were talking about this moldability and this kind of this lump of clay. And early on, he was just literally, he was just like a little piece of gelatin, like gelatin, or like this blob, you know. And as it started developing, we realized that, do you know there's this, have you ever tried this Japanese kind of thing called, food called mochi?
Yes, I've had mochi.
So he's based upon a mochi, yeah. I'm glad that you got excited about that, because we also did research. We love to eat it and try it out, but he's based upon kind of this mochi thing, and we had that, you know, that powder that's on the top.
That is so interesting.
Thing. Thank you. I think so. And this is Art.
Oh, Art.
You know, Art he steals the show. He's such a great character. The animators love this shape, and they can do so many different things. Because they're monsters, you could do anything. And that was one of the difficulty of his character, because and in college too, there's this thing that Dan Scanlon said, there's always a student that is just a mystery. He's enigmatic. You don't know anything about him. Like, how old are these people? How long have they been in school? And what are the majors? And so that's Art. And the funny thing about Art is mostly all of these characters have a first and last name, but Art only has his name Art. And I don't even know if that's his first or last name. But he was based upon an A shape early on, the letter A. But there's also this thing, because he's a New Age philosophy major, and we were thinking that he would have kind of these like lectures, or he can, you know, always do these speeches, motivational speaking and things like that, that there was this Saturday Night Live skit with Chris Farley. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but he would talk, his character would say, you know, I live down on a van by the river, and he would put his hands in between his legs, and that really influenced and inspired kind of that design of the hands between the legs, and he's just so unique and fun. And here's Don Carlton, the mature student, and the idea behind this guy is, you know, he was in sales for the longest time and decided he wanted to do something different. He went back to school to learn the computers, and he is an amazing character in terms of the design. I love the simplicity, but he's based kind of upon a dragon / octopus with the tentacles. There was the development of him actually having fur for the mustache, but because it's based upon kind of this dragon motif, that wing mustache really came to play, and it's just really funny and unique for the monster world. And then his shirt, you know, it's probably the shirt that he would use for sales, and it's this polo shirt that's a little washed and shorter, it's riding up his belly a little bit. But and then we have Sherry Squibbles, and she is the mother of Scott Squishy, and she is amazing. She's so funny and so supportive of everything that the Uzma-Kappas do. The house that they live in is her house, and you know, she has two outfits. She has the house coat with the multicolored curlers, and the summer dress that is based upon the colors of, we designed it to be the colors of the fraternity, because she's so supportive of this fraternity. She's amazing. She's a cool mom. Well, she is the cool mom, yeah. No, that's the beauty of it. She's unconditional support. Yes. And then here's the lineup, the entire lineup of our character group here. And what I love about this is that this takes a lot of development. It's over 2 years of development for this document. And here, though, you could see how all the groups work together, how the colors work together. You know, it's very clearly the Roar group and the Jocks group and all the fraternities and sororities, and how they would work and dynamically together as a cast in the movie. That's beautiful. So this is now probably a really tough question, but when you look at those, and you would have to pick one, your favorite one, which one would it be? Well, you know, I gotta say, working on a lot of the characters here at Pixar, I worked on, you know, I designed Mike and Sully for the first film, and Celia and Roz, and on Finding Nemo, I worked on, you know, Dory and the sharks, and I was the character art director for that. And then working on Up, and I designed, well, I was a production designer for the entire film. And this film, they're like children to me. Yeah. And they really are. I don't have one favorite. They're all really great. while I'm working on a film, though there's always a character that I love working on and is my favorite at the time when I'm working on the film. And actually, that's a perfect transition to Dean Hardscrabble.
Ooh.
Jason Deemer, the character art director for the film, has been here almost for 15 years. And he's been quoted as saying that Dean Hardscrabble has been probably one of the most difficult characters he's ever worked on in his career here at Pixar. And one of the reasons why that is because late into the production, we actually had the Dean's design. It was a male. It was this guy here.
Dean Hardscrabble was a man.
It was a man. And at the very last moment, Dan Scanlon wanted to change it to a female. And I think that was a great decision. I think one of the reasons why it happened, and you'd have to ask Dan specifically, is because Dan is great as a director to take an idea and really think of it in a different way, to have a different perspective on it. And having it as a male, it's like you've seen the typical, the prototypical dean of a school is the male with the tweed coat and the elbow patches and, kind of a stoic person. And when it changed, he was looking for this dynamic character that had authority and was one of the scariest monsters of all time, but also had this elegance and this beauty. And while we were trying to figure this character out, it was so difficult because the time was so short. But we tried different things with moths and snakes, and at one point she was even bird-like, like an owl. But it just didn't hit for Dan until we did our research. We were researching all these things until we found this thing called the Scolopendra Gigantea, which is the giant centipede.
Ooh!
I love your reaction to this. I love your reaction. That's exactly what we were going for.
That's what you wanted.
This thing is terrifying. It's absolutely creepy.
Yeah.
It's everybody just, viscerally feels like, oh, this
back up.
It's gross. Now we do our research here at Pixar. We brought one in, and we brought in an expert. And this expert has, handheld venomous spiders and poisonous snakes and all these different things that are like scorpions that he would bare hand hold these things. Well, when we brought this thing out, he put on these leather gloves and these long metal tongs, and he says, you do not mess around with these things. He said they're so dangerous that if you get bitten, you will not die, but you will wish for death. It is so painful. And we had this in a little plastic Tupperware with a little plastic lid on it and just the Scotch tape in this poor coordinator's office. And it was so nasty. But when we watched it move, it was so elegant and so beautiful that it inspired the animators. And you can see the legs and the sine wave of the legs and how that elegance played into the combination of elegance and creepiness.
And that's what you wanted.
That's what we went for. And we had the bat wing design incorporated into her design. And we wanted to blend into her jacket, so it's very restrained. And when she needed to have that effect, she can unfurl them. So out of all of that research and all of that development, she ended up being one of my favorite characters. And I think she's one of the better characters for Pixar as well, overall.
She is a great character.
Yeah, she's really great. And then Helen Mirren actually ended up voicing her. And then the planets aligned, and Helen Mirren's voice took her to the next level, even more so. So I remember them putting her voice over the top of this image just to try it out.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely perfect. It gave me shivers of when you actually know when a character is just starting to become exactly that character that you were trying to develop and hit. So
when you see that on a big screen, you must feel so proud.
Yeah. It's I can't really describe it. It's this weird feeling, and you work so hard. I worked on this film for almost 4 years, and when you see it on the big screen, of course, there's this feeling of accomplishment and pride because it's better than I thought it it would ever turn out because of the amazing work of everyone on the team. But one of the weirdest things about being a character designer actually is when you start seeing the product and the toys. If you see like a child holding your character, that is actually, and you're just at the airport walking and you see this kid holding the character that you helped design. That's one of the fun parts of my job as well, is seeing that happen.